Hey, Curse Man, I got something to tell you about this week's guest.
All right. I'm all for it. Do tell.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay. Well, I'm waiting. Tell me.
It's the band Tell.
Oh, excellent. I love tell.
We're going to be talking to David Wildman from the band about their new single, Sweet Proximity, their recent shows coming up, and a whole lot more.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go tell everybody else. Citywide Blackout starts right now.
Welcome to Citywide Blackout with your hosts, Max Bowen and Curtis Hughes. With years of experience in journalism, music, and entertainment business, they put their knowledge to work, bringing you the best in-depth, fun, and sometimes outrageously bizarre interviews with authors, musicians, and many other creators from around the world. With the right amount of gusto and a few F-bombs thrown in for emphasis, you're sure to have a good time. So put up your feet, grab a beverage, and let's go.
So, David, the first question, just to start this off, is your recent release, Sweet Proximity, which was released back on March 14th. I gotta say, I'm loving the song. I'm loving just the overall intensity and the message behind it. But what inspired this tune?
Well, it started out as a really quiet acoustic thing. I had been teaching one of my students how to play Old Pine. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but it's a weird tuning. So it's like basically you're tuning the guitar to an F practically. And I just started messing around with it and came up with something that was just really kind of Indian sounding and, one chord through the whole thing. And that's where I wrote the lyrics over. And then during the pandemic, it turned into a pop song. I worked it out on guitar and I had pop hooks in it. Then I presented it to the band and we tried it and it sounded like a pop song. And Jay, our bass player, said, is this what you really want to do? And I thought about it. He's very good at, making very intelligent criticisms. And I thought about it and I realized, no, I want to rock, God damn it. So I took it away, came back next week with it and had just turned it into basically a couple chords and really really hard rhythm and turned the chorus into more of like a Gang of Four kind of chorus. At least that's what I was going for. And the band just blossomed with it. They just picked up on it, and Jim started doing his very weird flat five guitar parts, and he's really influenced by some really cool kind of avant-garde guitar styles, Sonic Youth, that kind of thing. And it just kind of came together like that. And the lyrics changed a little bit once it got a little more rockin'. But the idea is about isolation, and I wanted to take it from different points of view of isolation. So we have the stunt driver in the first verse who's on a closed track, and his life is on a closed track and he can't really do anything except for the cameras, and then the second verse is about having a girl next to me that I fell in love with that I never had the guts to talk to, and it was like we're both trapped. She's lonely, I'm lonely, and we're trapped in our own insecurities and inability to break through the boundaries that we put up on our souls, And then the last verse is a test pilot that's crashing into the earth, and he's about to be absorbed by everything that he knows. I try to write novels, so I try to come up with characters, in my songs. So that's a case of just three characters to make the point of the song.
I love that, and this really should be a book, I think, because it's a really great theme and a really good story. I mean, so when it comes to the writing process, does this take you a while, or do you find that the ideas just kind of come to you?
They don't always come immediately, but when they come, they usually kind of come all at once. This song is one of the songs that's taken me the longest to write, actually, because it went through, all of those revisions and things. And the other one was from our record before this. I don't know if you heard it. It was called Life in Reverse.
Yeah, I've been listening to that too. Very good stuff.
A song called Shotgun Future.
Yes.
Yeah. That one started out as like a sort of a revved up Cure kind of sounding song. With an earlier version of the band, I was it was me and Jay and some other people. And I just kind of, we got it into the studio, and I was like, I just wanted it to be funkier, you know? And Jay had come up with a really, really like, Larry Graham style bass line, like popping the strings and doing really interesting stuff. And so I rewrote it in the studio, driving everybody crazy. Man, we're recording this thing, but it's not right. It's high drama.
Oh,
But
well.
I did it really quick. I got it done in course of 2 nights. So.
Hey, I think as long as you're happy with the end result, that's what matters. If it has to be some like last second, wait, just one more time, let me do like one more thing, it's worth it.
Yeah, I got to live this thing. I've got to sing it, and I got to perform it, and
And that's what I really get listening to it. Like, like listening to Life in Reverse, listening to Sweet Proximity, is that just passion for the music kind of coming through. Like I would swear that this was like a recording of like a live set, because it just has that energy to it.
Well, we have a great guy that we work with, Benny Grotto, at Mad Oak Studios in Alston. And he's a genius of getting good ideas out of people and good performances, and making you feel great in the studio. The first record that we did was done during the pandemic, and it was called Stir Crazy. So it was a pandemic record, but that was done with me playing most of the stuff at home, writing it and sending it to Jay, the bass player. He'd put his bass in, and then we went into the studio with a drummer. And Benny was able to take all the crap that I'd done on my home studio and make it sound, like $1 million. He's great.
Oh, definitely.
How is this a companion to your April release, Boiling the Ocean?
It's a lot different in style than that song, but they're both songs that are looking at this life that we're living in right now, this very strange world that we're all trying to become used to. And in that sense, one is about isolation. Sweet Proximity is about isolation, and Boiling the Ocean is about the isolation that the internet brings, and the idea that we're all kind of forced into this medium, and the medium forces a certain kind of lifestyle and an approach to music. And you think like when the 45 came out, that forced people to write songs that were 2 minutes and 30 seconds at the most, 3 minutes. And in the way the internet's done the same thing, I think. It's forced you to become a social light or something. I don't know. It's forced you to become an advertiser. You have to advertise your music constantly, because there are no record companies that are going to do it for you. And so it changes the whole experience of being a musician. It's now the experience of being an influencer.
Hate that term. God,
I know.
Yeah, it's a real bad term.
I fucking hate that word so goddamned much. It needs to be culled from our societal mind.
Tell me about it. Because the second line in Boiling the Ocean is, "I'd kill the influencers because they've got nothing useful to say."
Yes,
I think I'm going to get a lot of shit for that. But
no,
I really
you know what?
No, but you bring up an interesting point, though, David, because it forces us to not only have to market the music, but also think of the music as a single product, one track, one song at a time, instead of being to release a whole group, a whole collection of albums, because people just don't have the attention span anymore.
Exactly. And that's what we figured out by, putting out an album and then putting out another album. And the second album was more like an EP. And we got a lot of attention for that EP, but there were still plenty of songs that nobody ever listened to, you know. So it was like, well, why do we even bother with those? So we figured we'd do just, you know, 2 songs. Plus, we're all broke, you know. we just like we couldn't afford to do another album,
Right.
but this is the way to do it. You know, you come up with 2 really good songs, you spend some money promoting them, and Sweet Proximity has gotten just an incredible response. We've gotten lots of radio play, ridiculous write-ups that I never would have imagined the stuff that that people got out of that song, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's great. It plays into the whole apocalyptic nature of you know what I'm trying to say, but a lot of the writers just really got it and then ran with it.
Yeah, because I think we all think like the same thing right now. We hate living in this culture where it's like your value comes down to what you can post to your socials. And
well, and so I called Boiling the Ocean my "Fuck the Internet" song.
Yes, we need more of those.
But I try to write songs that that push the envelope, you know, songs that get people thinking, songs that that people can identify with on that level. And they're probably pretty provocative. I had a song on Life in Reverse called "Wish I Could Believe in God," and I mean, like that seems to me to be just a no-brainer, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
you know, it's like I wish it'd be great if I could believe in God and not worry about when I die and I'm going to go to some pasture in the sky or some shit. And I don't believe that at all. I think it's ridiculous. There's no man up in the sky, you know, watching over everything, and it was all a result of the, you know, the church and power and control and all that. And people are starting to realize that. It would have been really controversial maybe if I'd written it like in the 60s or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the 50s. You know, it's but at this point it's like it's not controversial, I guess. But a lot of people kind of got rankled by it, you know.
Well,
I thought that was kind of cool.
I'm all for that actually, because I feel exactly the same way. You know, religion's not a part of my life. It never will be. And yeah.
The way it is for most people now.
I get sick of people telling me.
You know, yeah. I mean, you're either completely sucked into it.
I was just going to say, you're either in or you're out. It's just
exactly.
no really happy middle ground anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there were also there's also a song on that record, "Sweet Life," which is about someone, you know, that you're in a relationship with or that you're really good friends with. It's not really made clear, but you know, they bought into the whole ivermectin thing. So I don't know if you noticed that when there's a song in there. I watched you drink ivermectin. It was not okay. Yeah. And
yes.
And the chorus is the sweet, sweet life that you threw away believing lies, you know. Tell it like it is, you know?
Yeah. You gotta be honest. I mean, if you like where does this come from, Dave? Like, you know, like what makes you want to just be like totally honest, unfiltered all the time?
Because why not?
There you go.
What's the point of putting on any airs about anything, especially in this day and age, you know? You just there's no point to try to hide your feelings and thoughts. You're not going to save anybody from anything, you know?
Fair enough.
So
yeah,
I guess I don't know. It just comes naturally to me to do that, and more so. The older I get, you know, the less I give. You know, the less I give a shit. You know?
Really? Yeah, seriously. Like the older you get, the like more you notice that your pile of fucks is just running out. You got nothing like left to give.
Yes, a diminishing pile of fucks, and it's heading towards absolute zero. You know.
Yep. I hear that. I hear that. All right. Let us now shift gears because I really want to talk about the cover art for Sweet Proximity.
Absolutely.
That was just like amazing stuff. Who did the work for that? Where'd it come from?
It was called the Morrison Company.
Yeah.
It's just something I got online, paid for it, and it was cool.
It's very cool.
It just caught my eye, and I didn't really know. It just got an emotional feeling from it.
Sure.
It ends up really playing into the music in a really cool way.
Yeah. Okay.
And this woman Joanne Kaliantsis, who's been doing our cover art since our first record, she's come up with sort of a brand for the band. I think with like tell in black letter,
Mm-hmm.
you can cut out letters of the colors, and she's got a real good eye for that. So she made a really good cover out of it.
Definitely.
And so now we've got the Sweet Proximity is red, and then Boiling the Ocean is blue, and it's tinted blue, and it looks really cool when they're right next to each other.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the single.
All right. I want to ask a bit more about just like the social commentary, like the stuff that you talk about in the music. What are you hoping people kind of like take from that?
Yeah, I hope that people that feel the same way will react to it. I want to give them something to think about and talk about and catch their attention. I mean, I'm not doing it in an advertising sort of way, but in the sense it is, because I'm trying to bring in like-minded people, and I know there's a hell of a lot of them out there, and everybody's feeling really, really disconnected from what's going on in our freaking government right now and scaring the shit out of everybody. I'm not even really paying any attention because I can't. It drives me crazy. I can't write when I'm scared.
Yeah.
And I already know what's going to happen. It's everything that's happening that I find out about. Like, God, I went to Salon by accident the other day because it was on the top of my computer. I hit it by accident, and there was a story about Trump 2028, a lark. And then there was something about how Elon Musk was a genius. And like, this is the Salon that I used to read that was very progressive. And they seem to have really bought in. So I'm afraid all these people have bought in, and I'm just not paying attention. That's, I'm a coward.
I don't think so, David, because I'm kind of the same way. Like I try to limit. Like I'll go on like the AP site and immediately boom, I'm like, here we go. And this is rabbit hole. It's like this and then this and this and this and this. And then like 3 hours later, I'm thinking, well, that was pointless. Also, I'm scared now. So fuck.
Yeah.
I just hope that all the people that are feeling the way that a lot of us are feeling just like get out during like the midterms and whatnot and actually, put their stamp on getting people in and or out of the position that they need to be.
I'm just worried at the apathy that I see and the buying in from the media. I canceled everybody. I canceled the Boston Globe. I canceled the Washington Post. On and on and on, because they just gave in. Like the Washington Post. Oh, I don't know if you saw what they did. Like they refused to criticize Trump before the election.
They killed their, I think it was their editorial supporting Kamala Harris.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And the logic, I use that with the biggest air quotes in the whole fucking universe, was that no one's gonna read it and no one's gonna be like shifted by it. Utter bullshit that was.
Yeah, and I'm really worried about this whole like anti-woke thing that is causing people to be distracted. Like what's that movie that just came out? Not Cinderella.
Snow White. Yeah, Snow White.
Snow White. Yeah, Snow White. That was a big deal because it was so quote woke, and because Rachel Ziegler made some sort of comment about Trump, and so that really was a a distraction to a lot of people on the internet. And since I don't get the news of anything that's has any real meaning, those are the things I get and read about. And it's like, oh, it was an anti-woke movie. It was a woman movie, and it's like all this stuff is just a distraction that we don't need.
Before we move on, I will say that I wish Disney would stop just rehashing their old stuff and make more original stuff. I like make an original movie, guys. I will go see it, even if it's bad. I will go see it. Stop remaking your old stuff, okay?
It will be bad if it's a Star Wars
They've
movie.
run out of ideas. I'm officially
okay. Well, like stop.
They've run out of ideas.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
The Acolyte.
Oh my God, that was so bad. I was so glad when we got to like the big
ever.
like Carrie Ann Moss as a Jedi. I thought, oh cool, Trinity's Jedi, awesome. Dead in like 4 seconds. Like what the fuck, guys? Come on.
Yeah. Killed by someone that was like not even like a Jedi, I mean, not even trained. Like just
what the fuck just happened? And then like the big melee battle happens, and I'll be quick about this, Curtis. The big melee battle happens. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. Fucking yes, it's here. Jedi's here. 4 seconds later, they're all dead. Well, that was a letdown.
Let's force choke our master.
Right.
Don't get me going.
Right.
Let's
So turning the page
back to music. Back to music.
David, tell us we love to hear origin stories. So tell us all about Tell, how it came to be, the whole thing.
Well, Tell was me and Jay had been playing in a bunch of bands. The Unfamiliars was a band we did throughout mid 2000s, I would say, and I don't remember exactly, like 2002 maybe to 2010. And then he went and played in some other bands. I played in some other bands, and then we just kind of got together again and said, let's do it again. Let's come up with something. And so as soon as we got that band together, the pandemic hit. So it just became an online band between me and him and a few other people that we were able to bring in, but we never even really played live. We actually did have a gig set up, and we had to cancel it because of COVID, and we actually had to cancel a bunch of gigs because of COVID, and so that was that. And then after that, we brought in 2 new musicians. We did kind of a search, for musicians, and found a really great guitar player. This guy, Jim Foster. He'll probably kill me for saying this, but he played in this band called Vision Thing. I don't know if you guys remember that. Ted Drozdowski, way back in the day. And it was a band where he was brilliant, but the band, wasn't, and he never really got his due in it. And he's played with various people over the years. Stuart Factory, bands that probably won't mean anything to you guys, but anyway, he's unbelievable. He has just this ability to take one of my songs and find some element in there and twist it around and make it his own. So that, like, the parts that he adds, like for instance, the Sweet Proximity, you listen to what he's doing in there, and he's taking sort of the melody and twisting it around and making it really sharp and pointed. I mean, it started out, he was just doing a little bit of arpeggios and stuff. And I said, make it weird, fuck with it. And then he's like, oh yeah.
How many times have we heard that in the studio? Make it weird, fuck with it. It's like, how many times have we heard that phrase?
Oh,
weird,
sure.
fuck with
all
it.
The time
On this show.
Time.
Countless.
Yes. It's just and it worked. And so that's becoming our sound. And the rhythm section is starting to gel really, really well now that we've got a drummer that just kicks ass. He came from a Who cover band, and he's pretty much done covers most of his life. I think he might have done one original band at one point, but he's got all of that stuff in him. The Keith Moon stuff, he's Yeah, the John Bonham stuff. He combines it all, makes his own thing out of it. And when you see him perform, it's just infectious. He's just smiling and grinning and hitting the drums as hard as he can, and just everybody loves it. So he's great for for the live show and for the recording. I mean, the drums on Sweet Proximity are just kick ass, and we're working up new stuff now too. So we're starting to really come together as a band. It's really exciting.
And how, you've been in the industry and on the music scene in Boston for a real long time, David. How have you seen the music and the music scene itself evolve and change over the years? How would you describe all that?
Yeah, I've been in it for a while. When I first got in it, nobody was getting anywhere, and then the 90s hit, and all these bands were getting signed because of Nirvana. Like anything that sounded grungy would get signed. They would take any shit and throw it against the wall. So just about everybody that I knew got signed and got dumped like two records later or one record later. So that went on for a while. In the late 80s, there was some of that going on, but it was mostly like corporate sounding stuff, like Till Tuesday,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And then the 90s, it was the grunge, and then it was alt rock. The Boston scene pretty much thrived for a long time. I think it shifted around from different clubs, like the Rat went under, but then and we had the Abbey for a while, and recently it's just gotten back to the way it used to be. I think some of the venues like O'Brien's and Great Scott
Mhm.
are coming back. Well, O'Brien's has been around, actually. We're playing there on June 8th, I think. Yeah, but Great Scott went under, and now they've come together, and they're putting both clubs in the same building now,
Right.
which is kind of crazy. I'm in Lowell, and the Lowell scene has exploded. Thirsty First and Warp
Mhm.
and Weft, Kodo. There was a Kodo in Salem. Now there's one here. All sorts of places. A few clubs have been closing recently, but it's still pretty much alive. And there's some great bands coming out of here, like the Ghouls. Great band. So I feel like the scene now is different than it was, because it used to be young people, you know, and now it's young people and old people. It's people from the whole time. It's like the internet, there's really,
Mhm.
there's no kind of bias of age. There's no kind of generation gap or anything like that. That all the music that you can imagine is happening at once. There's the young kids, like the Twigs are pretty young band, or Twig, I think they're called. Two girls and a guy drummer, but man, they just rock.
Mhm.
And they're young, and there's a lot of vitality there. In
Do you think there's a lot of cross pollination between all the surrounding towns and cities where, like, you have a lot of the Boston smaller clubs and whatnot have all kind of consolidated or gone away, and so now a lot of the talent that's here is kind of moving out to like Lowell and playing there, and then Lowell coming out to like the Metro West areas and things like that. Do you find that there's a lot of more cross pollination between the
Yeah, there seems to be, yeah, because they're completely different audiences.
right?
So you can actually play in Lowell, and then the next day you can play in like Roslindale or JP, and you're not going to run into the same people. And there's not like any huge bands these days like the neighborhoods were. You guys are
Right.
probably too young. Maybe Max isn't too young to remember that the neighborhoods could play anywhere, and just pack a club anywhere. They were a huge local a band. But now it's like there's no headliners left anywhere, or very few. These clubs will just accept whatever bands want to play there at this point. They're much more open to getting, say, 3 bands in there that'll bring their friends in,
Yeah.
as opposed to we want the biggest thing we can get. There's still clubs like in Cambridge and Boston that are top heavy. We've got to have the big headliners, and they got to be touring bands to do that. And the clubs like the Sinclair. I mean, if you can get into the Sinclair, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Right.
Big venues like that. But the smaller clubs are doing pretty well, and I just feel like there's a growing sense of something happening. With the music. Bands are coming out of nowhere, and it's less of an internet phenomenon. I think it was for a while, like the whole, like, everything had to be on Spotify thing, and now bands don't even give a shit about that anymore. We kind of don't think anything's going to happen. We don't expect to be signed to a major label and be touring the world.
Just like do for fun. Just kind of like
yeah. It's more than fun. It's like it's a passion. And we're finding it all around the world. We're getting we got played in England for Sweet Proximity on this show, and played with all these other local bands in London, and it was so cool. Like, there's a scene there, and they accepted us. I feel like there's something happening everywhere because of what's going on in the world and the reaction to it. And we're thrilled to be part of that, because why not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's talk shows, because I know that you guys had your release show at the Warp and Weft, as you mentioned, in Lowell, which I gotta say is one of the coolest venue names I've heard in a while. I had to look that up to see what that even means, but tell us about.
It has to do with industrial, knitting, basically.
Which you wouldn't think of, right? It's like, what does that mean? I have no idea. Oh, knitting. Not what I thought, but okay. Tell us about that show, how it went.
That show was great. That was one where we had an opening band that is a Morphine tribute band. That's really slighting them to call them that. They worship Morphine, and they're brilliant musicians, and they take it very seriously. So they change their name every time they play to something that's Morphine related. For this, they became French Pies with Pepper, which comes from a Morphine song, and it was on the 4th. It was on 3.14. At the 14th, so it was Pi Day. Yeah, and this girl Savannah, who's the drummer, was singing, doing some Mark Sandman vocals, which was pretty amazing. Hearing a girl do that, singing down low and stuff, that was great. We had a good crowd there. People are coming out for this band. Wherever we play, we've been drawing crowds. Yeah, and the Warp is a great club because, well, for me, it's right down the street. For the other guys, it isn't. but it, there's a real interest in the band in Lowell. We do really well at the Jungle. We're going to be playing there on June 26th. I don't know, you don't want me to run off our shows. But
definitely, yeah, because that was actually going to be the next question, because I know you get the show coming up on May 9th at the Square Root in Roslindale. Another awesome name for a venue.
Yeah, that's a good club.
Yeah.
We're playing with our buddies, Charming Arson, who's another really not really known enough band, but they're hugely popular. They just have their own thing. I don't know how to describe them.
I love the name, Charming Arson. It's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, they've got real real kind of creative underground approach to their music. I don't know. The singer kind of reminds me of camper van Beethoven a little bit. He's got that kind of like snarl, and he writes brilliant songs. Yeah, they're phenomenal. So we're playing with them, and I'm not sure who the other band is. Be honest.
Well, then, folks, you gotta go. You gotta go to the Square Root on May 9th. You're gonna see Tell. You're gonna see Charming Arson, and you're gonna have a wonderful time.
It's an early show too. They do an interesting thing there. They start their shows at 8:00, and people show up. So the last band goes on at 10, and they're out of there by 11 or 11:30.
I like that concept. I think we got to see more shows like that, because, like, especially when I was in Boston, yeah, like when I was even living in the city, it was tough sometimes to be like, okay, midnight, all right, finally the last band's on, okay. I mean, there's some days you just couldn't, you didn't have that kind of energy. So it's nice to say, oh yeah, like 8 to 11, good, that works. All right, folks. Well, we're about to wrap this whole thing up. But David, before we go, what is coming up for Tell? We talked a bit about shows, but what about like new music? We have some more of that to look forward to.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of songs in the pipeline that we're working on right now. There's one called "Hate Yourself in the Morning." I think it's going to be a crowd pleaser.
Yeah,
it's just a raucous thing. We've got one, Things to Do When It's Dark. That's my sort of, I'm trying to make my political commentary with that one. Thing is, you don't want to be too blatant. You want to make it poetic.
Yeah. So, be subtle about that. I like that.
You got to be subtle. Yeah.
All right. Well, Dave Wildman of the band Tell, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this. And for the folks at home,
great to talk to you guys.
Yeah. And for the folks at home, if you want to learn more about the band, you go to telltheband.com. Everything's there. Again, May 9th, 8:00. The Square Root in Roslindale. Check them out. Many more shows to come. And we're going to wrap this episode up by giving you guys the song Sweet Proximity. Enjoy this one. And this has been Citywide Blackout. I'm Max.
And I'm Curtis.
We'll see you all next time.
Bye.
And with that, we bring this episode to a close. Thanks for listening. And if you haven't already, check us out on Facebook under Citywide Blackout, and Twitter and Instagram under Citywide Max. You can catch this and all your favorite episodes on your favorite podcast platform. And new episodes are added every week, as well as on Boston Free Radio every Saturday at 10 p.m. You get at me at citywidemax@yahoo.com if you want to suggest a guest, submit your music, or just drop us a line. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I'm a professional. autopilot and my engine is blown on the deadly trajectory to the earth, my home.